webinar series on shopping. So talking about today is how to structure your Google Shopping campaigns for success. I'll expand the screen so it's the main focus and get started. So then before we do get stuck into the presentation itself, just a reminder that the slides as well as a recording of the webinar will be please use the chat window to ask any questions, and we'll go through all questions in a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So a little about myself. So I've been working at Dynamic Creative for around 5 years now, and working in digital advertising for that entire time with a speciality in e-commerce. So I have been working in Google Shopping and search campaigns geared at selling products for online retailers. So we have accumulated a fair bit of experience and want to share that through these webinars. So what you'll learn today is just a bit of a refresher on our previous webinar, since it has been a little time since we've gone through those. Best practice for product types and descriptions in your Google Shopping feed, and then how to use product type in your feed, and then how that flows through to structuring your campaigns for success. So as a bit of a refresher, as this is the third webinar in the shopping series, what we've gone through in the previous webinars is what Google Shopping is and how to get a feed for your Google Shopping campaigns. So quick refresher, Google Shopping ads, they're on the right there. They are the ad format with images that appears alongside the text ads, and they have a title and price included. So the content which makes up these ads is sourced from a feed which you submit to your Google Merchant Center. So that's what we went through in webinar 2. And as a result, the content of the ads is directly tied to the contents of your feed. So getting into the topic of the day, so product titles and descriptions. So the product titles and descriptions are very important for your shopping ads. In the example on the right, you can see the product titles for each product under the image. So this is the product title for each product, and then the description isn't visible in the example here, but it is visible when a consolidated shopping ad is showing up. So this is the format of an ad that will appear in the shopping tab in Google itself, but they can also, Google is starting to serve those in the main search engine results page as well. So descriptions are becoming more important from a user perspective. So it's important to keep in mind that product titles and descriptions serve two purposes. So firstly, they are ad copy for your ads. The title is very similar to the headline of a text ad. It is what appears under the image in a shopping ad. It's the first text that a potential customer reads in regards to your shopping ads. So as such, it should be written with ad copy best practice in mind. However, the title and description are also the primary elements through which Google matches customer searches to products. So as a result, they also need to be rich in content and the phrases which customers are using to search for the product. So we're going to run through some of the best practice structures for title and descriptions, but before we get stuck into the detail here, I do want to outline that in most cases, if you are going to be altering product titles and descriptions in order to meet these best practices more closely, it's best to do that editing website data itself. So editing the product titles and descriptions on your website itself, as opposed to manipulating the data between your website and the feed. So the reason for this is that the best practices which apply to product titles and descriptions will also be website. The main ways are in terms of SEO and also improving your page relevance for quality score purposes. It also simplifies the process of managing your data. This is because as opposed to needing to manipulate the data between your website and the feed, you just edit it on your website and that flows through to your feed automatically. And you get to enjoy the benefits on your shopping campaigns, but also your Google Shopping campaign, also your website. So in terms of product titles, the goal of a product title should be to be informative and concise about what the product is. And the reason is because it is character limited. If a product title is too long, Google will truncate it and the whole thing won't appear in the search engine results page. So in general, this means that the most successful format for a product title is brand, followed by product category, followed by product, and then finishing off with product attributes. So the relevant attributes do vary from vertical to vertical. For example, the relevant attributes of a product which are most important will be different for electronics versus apparel versus furniture. So it's a little bit abstract, so we'll run through a few examples from a few different verticals. So, for example, for an electronics product, for a TV in this example, the best practice format is to have brand, then category, then product type, then attributes. So in this example for a hypothetical TV, so the brand names here I've just made up. They sound a little weird since it's hard to find a brand name which isn't already taken nowadays, but electronics code, 55-inch, 4K LED TV, Series 8. So starting with the brand, then describing the most important attributes of the product, then the product type, and then further attributes of the product which come after. So then the format is different for apparel. So in this example, brand followed by gender, followed by product type, followed by attributes is the best practice format. So for example, clothing garden, women's sweater, charcoal size 6. So you're starting off with the brand, describing what the product is, and then also including the most important attributes, the size and the color. So then for furniture, so the format here is brand, then category, then product type. So attributes, so the same as electronics, but then the specific attributes which are important for a table are different to a TV. So in this case, Furnitureland Hamptons Oak Dining Table, 165 centimeters. So although the overarching idea for each title is similar, you want to communicate the most important attributes of a product and what the product is to potential customers, specific things you need to put in are going to be different. So screen size for a TV, color and size for apparel, or style and material for furniture. So overall, the goal for a product title is to convey what the product is, the manufacturer of the product, and 2 to 3 of the most important features of the product. So just reiterating again that we highly recommend making these changes to the website itself. So these recommended structures on product titles are designed to maximize the relevance to searches. So we'll have benefits for SEO and also page relevance. So including the color of apparel will improve your SEO for people searching for that specific clothing. And then, for example, using the Hamptons Oak Dining Table as an example, by including attributes such as Oak and Hamptons in the page content, you're going to improve your ability to rank on those terms, as well as improving the page relevance for all paid search activity directed to that page for people searching with those terms. So then product descriptions, they follow the same overall principle as product titles, but you do have more space to utilize. You can write in prose and then also highlight more than just the primary attributes which are of interest. You shouldn't neglect including the same attributes in the product title. You want to repeat the brand and the most important attributes in the description as well. And then just again, for emphasis, we do recommend that these changes are made on the website itself as they will benefit your SEO and page relevance to the quality score. So in terms of product descriptions, we've got an example one here. So this is a hypothetical description for the Oak Dining Table we used in the example previously. So this Furnitureland Hamptons Oak Dining Table measures 165 centimeters by 70 centimeters. The contemporary coastal design makes it a great addition to any dining room. Some of its great features are smooth rounded finish, solid oak top, legs and underframe, clear lacquer finish, and then that can continue with any other secondary attributes which are of interest. So in the description, I've bolded the sections which are intended as content to match to how potential customers are going to be searching for this product. So the first sentence repeats all of the primary aspects of the product title, so including the brand, material, the style, and the fact that it's a dining table. Coastal is used in the second sentence as a variation on Hampton, so they're sort of interchangeable in terms of style of the table. And then the features list includes some of the less important features that are still relevant to what customers are going to be searching for. So in this case, rounded finish, clear lacquer finish, and the fact that it is solid oak. So once you've got your product titles and product order, You want to be able to structure your campaign in such a way that you're going to be able to optimize it and manage it most easily. So the best way of approaching this is using product type to structure your shopping campaigns. So as a bit of a refresher on webinar 2, we recommend using the product type field to mirror the navigation structure of your website. So using the example on the right here for a hypothetical furniture website, level 1 of navigation refers to the top level. So these would be the categories that appear in your primary navigation bar. So in this example, furniture and then accessories. Level 2 of the product type field, or the navigation structure, is the categories under each heading. And then level 3 are the subcategories under those. So for example, the first level contains furniture and accessories. Under furniture, there are 2 categories, tables and chairs. And then under tables, there are 2 subcategories, dining tables and office tables. And then again, so for example, under the first level category of accessories, there are categories of rugs and mirrors. Rugs doesn't have any subcategories, so it terminates at that point. It doesn't have a third level category under it. And then mirrors has wall mirrors as a subcategory. So this is just a bit of an example. Most websites are going to have more breadth in their categorization, going to have more than 2 top-level categories and more under each one. So this is just a bit of an example for putting together examples of best practice. So using this example, we would recommend that the product type in your Google Shopping feed matches the navigation structure. So a dining table would have a product type of furniture, then tables, then dining tables. A dining chair would have a product type of furniture, then chairs, then dining chairs. A rug would have a category of accessories and then rugs. In this case, because there is only 2 levels, it terminates there, mirroring the structure of the website. So the benefit of doing it submitting product type like this, is that it allows your shopping campaigns to be structured in the same way as your website. So for example, you'd be able to create a shopping campaign for tables with dining tables and office tables as ad groups within it. And then you could have each of the individual items as product groups within those ad groups. You can then repeat this for all your categories. So for example, you'd have a campaign for chairs, having dining chairs and office chairs as ad groups within that. And then each individual chair as a product group within those ad groups. So structuring your campaign like this has a huge benefit in terms of optimizing and managing it. One of the key things is that it more easily allows you to optimize different campaigns to different goals. So for example, using this furniture site as an example, if tables had on average a 60% gross margin, but the gross margin for mirrors on average was only 40%, you would want to optimize those campaigns to 2 different targets, because a sales from the tables campaign is more likely to be worth more for the business because 1, tables are generally going to cost more than a mirror, and 2, the gross margin on them is on average higher, so you can afford to pay more for a sale in the tables campaign as compared to the mirrors campaign. But the only way you are able to easily optimize those campaigns to 2 different targets is by having them in 2 separate campaigns. If tables and mirrors were all mixed into the same campaign, well, it would be a lot of work to optimize the table products to a different target to the mirror products. A second major benefit to this structure is it allows you to effectively manage negative keywords. So as an example, you would want to include a negative of office on your dining tables ad group and dining on your office tables ad group to make sure that you're not going to serve irrelevant ads to potential customers. Because 99% of the time, somebody searching for a dining table isn't going to be interested in an ad for an office table. So they're less likely to click on it, and even if they do click on it, they're not likely to buy. But this is only possible if they are in separate ad groups. If the products were mixed into the same ad groups, you wouldn't be able to implement a negative on one group of products without affecting the other one. The type theming of ad groups also has benefits for regular review of search queries. So queries such as oak tables for a hypothetical retailer might perform better for one category to another. For example, if a store has a large range of oak dining tables but doesn't have any oak office tables, you might want to look at implementing a negative for oak on your office tables ad group. Since you do have a large range of oak dining tables, the search oak tables might perform well, but if you don't have any oak office tables, it's probably not going to perform well, so you'd want to negative it out. Again, that's only possible if you have these products grouped into separate ad groups. So that's what you've learned today, is gone through a bit of a refresher on our previous webinar, best practice product titles and descriptions, and then also using product type to structure your campaign so you're able to optimize and utilize negative keywords effectively. So that's gotten us to the end of the webinar. Questions? Give everyone a little time to type into the chat box any questions.
Okay, Ollie, just coming from Dynamic Creative, our perspective, how big an issue is this when setting up?
Yeah, it's very important. One, the negative keywords are very important in managing your shopping campaigns, because I guess shopping campaigns don't have keywords, so you don't have that fine control over what searches your campaign is appearing for. So the only real tool you have for influencing what searches you're appearing for are, one, your product titles and descriptions, but then in a negative sense, so making sure you're not appearing on irrelevant queries are negative keywords, and you want to be able to do that with a nuanced approach. You don't want to have you sort of blanket negative something out across all your products. So structuring it in such a way that you can negative a potential search on one set of products, which it's not going to perform well on, but still leave it intact for a separate set of products, which it may perform on, is very important. So question from Caitlin. So repeating question, I have a new website coming. Should I create a Google Merchant Center for my old one while the new one is developed, or wait until it's finished? So there's no issue with creating it now. Where you will have to, I guess, one of the steps in terms of getting a Google Merchant Center up and running is verifying it. So what this involves is putting a bit of code in the header, which sort of signals to Google that you are the owner of the website, so you're able to manage the Merchant Center for it. So you can set it up while you're still on your old website, but you will need to re-verify it when your new website goes live. But I guess in terms of best practice, you can start putting together a product catalog and do that on your staging website and have it ready to go for when the new website goes live. So if they are on different web addresses, there's no problem there. You should be able to verify a new merchant center on the new web address, and that sort of is independent of your old website since it is on a different URL. So question from Kellyanne, do you know what the ROI is typically for retail, preferably shoes? So it does vary. It does vary based on your type of products. I guess within shoes, there's a fair range of sports shoes versus fashion versus budget. I guess your ROI on a shoe campaign, in my experience, so this is just my personal experience, not I guess any holistic data or aggregation, is shoes can typically look at an ROI between 2 to 1 to around 7 to 1. That's where most of the shoe retail generally sit.
Kellyanne, we can always provide further information if you want to email Ollie directly, and we can actually ask Google for an industry-specific report for you that might help you get some more information on your own category.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to take a conversation offline so we can get into a bit more detail and give specialized advice to you. Okay, great. So I'll give everyone a couple more minutes to ask any questions, otherwise we'll wrap up.
So Ollie, just wrapping up, this whole negative keyword, I perhaps hadn't realised, you know, we've got the furniture example in there, my experience is with furniture. With, I suppose, the negatives that can come in, I hadn't realised the major players all can come into my own little campaign for my own little website. You know, Freedom, IKEA, AMA. I hadn't realised that potentially I'm paying for traffic that will never convert on my own site.
Yeah, so it is, it's a fair point in terms of wanting to make sure you are looking at your search. You can quite often see, for example, for a furniture retailer, if you're selling office tables, that you'll see, you know, Officeworks, office tables, Freedom, office tables, that sort of thing popping up in your search queries. And it's always good to review if those searches are performing for you, because the search intent of somebody searching for a competitor name is a lot different with just searching for an office table. Somebody who is searching for example, Officeworks office table, clearly already has a store in mind. They intend to buy from Officeworks, although you will occasionally get a sale from someone who is searching in that way. It is a lot more difficult. You'll probably observe a much lower conversion rate on terms using competitor names, and you'll also potentially pay more in terms of cost per click, because Google's not going to rate your site as having a good quality score on a competitor's name, because you're not that store. So it's always good to be keeping an eye out when you are looking at the search queries on your campaign for any competitor names.
Oh. Thanks, Ollie. I think that's a big learning that we can take away from this. It's just kind of like this third webinar, it's getting much more granular, but also showing where we can actually make a big indent in terms of improving our campaigns and returns.
Okay, great. So just to recap, we'll send out a recording of the webinar as well as the slides. Thank you all for joining. If you have been with us for the full series, we have adjusted the schedule a little bit. We've dropped back from a 2-week schedule to running a webinar on the first Wednesday of each month. So we'll send out the invite for the next one towards the end of September, and have more details on the content of that webinar when we're closer to the date. So thank you everyone for joining.